Our poultry farming expedition takes us to Jolly Poultry Farm, located in the north of Koroi, Rongai, Kajiado County, where we meet Teresia Nganga at a poultry brooding farm, where she rears the Croila hybrid chicks from day old to 21 days, then she harvests.
I started with this in 2015. I was first in normal employment, and then I felt I needed a 1 year break. And life in the city was not very interesting. So somehow you have to get out of Nairobi and come to some place where life is a bit easier for us. When I'm saying this, I mean economically, at times life in Nairobi can be very stressful. So I took a 1 year break to figure out what else can life offer. So in that process, I realized this chicken farming. I've been in NGO and research organizations for quite a long time. And in one of the NGOs that I was working for, we were promoting chicken as a way of making wealth to the women and the young people. And so I thought, okay, what is it about chicken? What is it about early retirement? What is it that I can do also? So I started in 2015 on a very small scale kind of thing. Of course, started from the Croila. I started Croila when I was employed, and then just before the Croila business went off, I started the quail, and then I came to the Croila business. So Croila, that time was getting from Uganda. I was among the very first people who went to pick chicks from Uganda. So we could bring them by bus, raise them, and sell them. And I realized, well, it's not a bad business.
And so, exactly, what typically do you rear? Do you also do the big chickens, or you just do the small ones for selling only?
Let me say this, that what we do, we operate as a social enterprise. A social enterprise entailing using of chicken to change lives of women and the youth. So this is, for us, raising birds is an agent of change. Let's start from there. So we're not necessarily farming chicken, but using chicken as a tool. So that's how I've been taught when I was in employment. So how do we do this? We have what we call a Croila bird. I learned about a Croila bird way back, and I have interacted with the team from Tech Farm in India from 2015 on what the bird is and the vision of the chairman then, and what it is that he wants to do in terms of using the Croila to change the livelihoods of people. And having borrowed that vision, I thought, wow, this is a good vision. And having known that the project I supported a lot when I was a young girl in employment, about using chicken to create wealth. Actually, because it was in Cumberland, we used to call it Nuduwawe Moko Nangoko. You know, like Nudua is like limping when you're old with chicken, but you're wealthy because you have a chicken. So I thought about it and I realized that one of the things why we do not make it, because we're using the Kenyan chicken, it takes forever to mature, and you can't really do a formalized business kind of thing. No. So I thought, okay, what about if I bring this chicken and raise it Kenyan style? Because it's ideally supposed to be a backyard chicken. Many farmers make the mistake of raising this bird as broilers and layers. This is not a commercial bird. This is like the broilers and the layers. This is a backyard chicken. So what we do is we promote it as a backyard bird. And backyard bird means that we're looking for women and young people in the rural setups. Yeah? In those rural setups where they don't have electricity or they don't have ability to brood them, like you see, like this drink of here that we used to brood with. So what we do is we build what we call mother units. These chicks, from an indigenous or Kenyeji bird framework, we have kuku inalalia mayai and then takes care of its babies. Okay. These chicks don't have their mothers. They have been hatched through machinery and technology and all that. So who is their mother? I have to be their mother to take care of them, to give them the work, and that is why I use this peacock. At times we also use bulbs to give them light, and of course shield them from predators, make sure that they're not exposed to heat and all that. When I do that, I am their mother. So I raise these birds to 3 weeks. When I raise them to 3 weeks, and now release them to the farmers to raise them on free range. Ideally, that's the concept. Yeah? So our concept and our plan, and this is what we are slowly, organically growing to do, is to be able to replicate ourselves at the community level. It is from a group framework. This group framework, we have been able to build their capacity to raise these birds like their own community birds. That way they're able to see the benefits. They're able to realize that within 4 months, they're able to sell this cookie between 1,000 and 1,500. Because when it is 4 months, it weighs between 1.8 to 2.3 for these groups. And at 5 months, we're able to get the eggs. So that way, we begin to see the profitability of the business. So now, when it comes to profitability, I'll say from where we come from, because we are dealing with first generation farmers, so we do not have what is called a parent stock ourselves. So because we don't have a parent stock, we don't produce the chicks. We import our chicks. So once we import our chicks, these chicks becomes a little bit expensive. But that's the only way we can assure our farmers that they have the right breed. The success of a poultry business is two. First, you must have a good breed. Number two, you must be able to understand the management of the bird. You could understand the management and do it perfect, but your breed is the wrong one. Maybe it is, for example, in the framework of broilers, we're talking about maybe a fifth generation. So that generation is already weak. So even if you gave it glucose and anything that you can ever afford, that bird will never give you the productivity you're looking for. So your management could be good, but it's the wrong breed. We can also give you the right breed, but your management is pathetic. So that way you still not be able to succeed. So you have to be able to combine the two, management and a good breed. So as a social enterprise, how do we operate? We offer the bird, the chick, and then we offer the management for free to our farmers. So we sit down. Of course, we're also looking for partners because we cannot do so much. Yes. So we're looking for partners to partner with us and be able to support farmers in terms of the management. We sell one at 250 shillings. When we're selling at 250 shillings, we have assurance that it has the Marex vaccine, and then it has 2 Newcastle. The first Newcastle that we give on the 5th day is Newcastle with IB. That is Newcastle with infectious bronchitis. The second vaccine is, of course, with Ebola, and then we have a boost of Newcastle, which is a plain Newcastle, and a boost of Ebola. So by the time you're using these birds at 21 days, like you're seeing these ones, they already have 2 Newcastles and 2 Ebola. But they also already have vitamins also. We try to avoid as much as possible to use antibiotics unless where it's necessary. But we try to, because it's a hardy bird, we try as much as possible to avoid using of antibiotics. And how do we avoid this? This is by making sure that we rake our beddings. So every morning we are raking to ensure that all the dust is absorbed and anything that was in the air is the ammonia gas is released.
And just to talk on the vaccines again, at how point do you administer the vaccines?
Okay, we have a schedule that we use. I may not have the whole schedule in my head, but I know on the 5th day.
Yes.
On the 5th day is when we start to vaccinate. So when we place the chicks, we give them a mild antibiotics and we give them vitamins for 5 days. After the 5th day, we are administering the first vaccine. So we give it a period of 4 to 5 days before we administer the second one, until the 21st day.
Which are the main challenges that you're facing in terms of raising these birds?
For me, one of the challenges I am facing is for example, when it rains, and I think farmers have not really put up their structures properly, because we realize that when it starts to rain, farmers reduce their orders. And you see, this farm is set up as brooder, not places to raise the birds to maturity. So if, for example, like you see, like now the way these ones are, you cannot keep these ones in another 1 week here. So if farmers decide to reduce their orders, then you have crisis because these birds are too big and they cannot fit in this space. When they don't fit in this space, what happens? They pile on one side and they die. They die on one side. That is our biggest challenge. The other challenge, of course, is feed. Feed, you could be using one company, but it's not. It doesn't always give you the same results. You know, we don't like, for example, like we feel like I think there's crisis in terms of maize and maybe they reduce the quality of the feed or what, I don't know. But feed attention is a challenge. First, it's expensive. Secondly, it's not consistent. Today you bring, because I mean we are in the business of bringing chicks and raising them. You can feed the same type of feed the same way. Then you realize these ones are different from the previous consignment, and it's more on the quality of the bird or the quality of the feed.
All right. And now, what would you advise any farmer who is willing to start such a business?
For me, what I like to discuss with farmers is it's not about the business, it's about your vision. What vision do you want? Because, I mean, anybody can raise chicken. You can raise for your own consumption, you can raise for market, you can raise because you want 1 or 2 days, 3 or 4 days. But every farmer must have a vision. What is it that they want? And your vision must be scalable. But you can decide and say, I want to be able to raise 1,000 birds that I dispose every month. So that means that you're able to have such a brooder where you bring in day olds and you sell them at 3 weeks at 250. That makes 250,000. So within your cash flow, you know that every month I have an income or a gross income of 250,000 every month. That makes your vision. So you can start with 50, 100, but you know where you're going. Yeah. For us, maybe I like to use my own vision to help farmers build their own vision. What is my vision? Right now, I am operating as a mother unit. I bring chicks, I raise them, I sell. I bring chicks, I raise them, I sell. We started being very low as well. We started 500, 21,000. We brought in 3,000, and now we do a maximum of 6,000. We bring, we sell. We bring, we sell. My desire is to have at least a minimum of 100 of me replicated somewhere. If I have 100 of me, they don't have to have the capacity I have, like 6,000. But can they do 1,000? And they don't have to start with 1,000. I want them to start 50, 100, 200, because there's a beauty in growth. There's a beauty in organic growth. You understand your mistakes, you understand your challenges, you understand where you went wrong. So if you can be able to grow from 50 to 1,000 and I have 100 of you, it means therefore that I can command a market of 100,000. If I can command a market of 100,000, I told you when they're babies, you don't make much profit. It's between 5 shillings to 15 shillings. Assuming I get 10 shillings myself, then it means therefore that if I can command this market, then I have 1 million shillings, right?
And how are you managing in these times we are being stricken by COVID-19?
Let me say that COVID-19, I think it's wrong that it came, but it also has helped us to understand a number of things. One is that we are not able to sit down and look at the screen and see what's happening and figure out how we protect ourselves. We are very keen with the government regulations. We are trying as much as possible to follow washing hands, social distance and all that. But in terms of our business, we're not so much affected as per now. Because before it came, or before there was all these lockdowns, we had already increased our capacity to bring in birds. So we decided before anything happened, let's just bring birds and let's play around with them. Because then we'd be closed by now if we had not done that. So with these birds coming in, we're able to now think beyond the box. Open up the box and throw it away and start thinking, what are we thinking? We're thinking, okay, we have birds here. We have challenges taking our birds to all these places that I told you because of all these lockdowns. We're planning that we need to start opening another value chain. Take this bird again. So the this space is not big enough. So we have to take the birds that will remain and take them to a farm in Kajiado and start the meat production there. So for us, we have learned that we should embrace technology, number one. So using social media a lot to communicate to our farmers. We're also using a lot of social media to train our farmers and tell them what they need to do and how they're doing it. But we've also discovered that we need to go beyond that even in future. So we have great plans that I may not necessarily be able to discuss with them now, but at least there are many things that we're thinking about after COVID. Right now it's a thinking process, but after COVID, what should we do? Or how will COVID find us as a company?
Now, there's a change point that farmers need to increase, and it's a gap. Well, I think you've learned a lot from Jolly Poultry and how to bring forth the best chicks ever up to the maximum harvesting period that takes 21 good days. This is FarmBiz Africa. My name is John Mataba. Keep safe.